let's continue this conversation with Steve Krakauer, journalist and media critic. He's also the author of the book Uncovered: How the Media Got Cozy with Power, Abandoned Its Principles, and Lost the People. Steve, good to have you back on the show with us this morning. In your estimation, how did this debate land with the audience last night? And particularly, I think about all the Americans who turned on their TV, who came at it with an open mind. How did this land for them last night?
I think for those of us who have spent a few months now covering this, or deep in the GOP primary world, where most of the country has not, we may have a different impression. I think Vivek Ramaswamy, who is eating up all the oxygen, has gotten attacked by, as you mentioned, there was Pence, and then there's Christie, and there's Nikki Haley that he was battling with. That is, in many ways, a really good thing for Vivek Ramaswamy, because he was won the Google search debate. He was searched more than any other candidate last night, and he got a lot of attention from people I saw in certain focus groups and others that they were finding him for the very first time. Now, I think that maybe down the road, that's not a great strategy, but we have to also remember there's 8 candidates on the stage. There's another 3 or 4 that weren't even on the stage. So if you move up in the polls, even 50%, if you go up from 5% to 8% or from 7% to 11%, that's a huge, huge margin. And there's a great media story that comes with, wow, look at this huge bump in donations, bump in poll numbers. So I do think that for Vivek, that was a big one, because a lot of people learned about him for the first time, and love him or hate him, he got a lot of attention last night.
And I think it spoke to how big of a threat he is seen by the other candidates now, especially with the latest polling that we've seen. And speaking of, Ramaswamy took a lot of the spotlight, and we saw the rivals trying to steal thunder, as you've mentioned, reshift the conversation. I want to play part of that from last night and get your take on the other side.
Yep. Let me explain it to you, Vivek, if I can. I'll go slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the reading comprehension.
Look, I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually pushed the Deficit Reduction Act. That was the last time we actually reduced the national debt in the United States. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie.
Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened.
Yeah, Vivek certainly took a lot of heat, but do you think candidates like Ron DeSantis or even former Vice President Mike Pence were able to convey what they wanted to the American people, or did all of these shouting matches that we watched over the course of a couple hours overshadow the debate and what people needed to hear?
I think that Mike Pence, for example, did get his points in. He actually, just by looking at the numbers, talked the most of anyone else on the stage. And so if you're talking the most, I think you're getting some of your points out there. I'm not sure I was a House conservative leader before it was cool is a message that's going to resonate for the 2024 audience. I'm not sure they're looking for that. A rookie may actually be the avenue that a lot of these GOP primary voters would rather be following. So I don't know if that landed, but the DeSantis point is really interesting. Look, DeSantis did not mix it up. He was not involved in a lot of these fights. And you say, okay, maybe he was rising above it. But I think that at this stage, none of these guys are close. 30, 40 points from the front runner who wasn't even in the room. You've got to get in there. You've got to get your moment. And I'm not sure DeSantis had that. I mean, he didn't lose. He didn't have any terrible moments, but he just didn't really land a lot of punches and didn't leave us talking about this big Ron DeSantis moment. And I think that's a missed opportunity there.
Yeah. And Steve, while I still have you, just one last quick question. This was obviously the GOP debate, but it is likely that whoever wins this primary will go head to head with Joe Biden come next November. Did you find it interesting, or what kind of message did it send that he was on vacation yesterday while all this debate was happening, leaving spin class near Lake Tahoe? I mean, were you surprised by that? Did you think he would have chosen instead to tour an American factory or anything else?
I don't think I'm very surprised anymore by how much vacation time Joe Biden takes. I think this is really par for the course at this point. It was the basement campaign in 2020. It might be the vacation campaign in 2024. Now, I was actually even more surprised that Joe Biden was not really that much of a focus of the GOP debate. Yeah. There wasn't any questions about Biden corruption and Hunter Biden. I mean, some of the candidates tried to get that in there, but they need to make that message really resonate, because I think that's the one one that's going to hit with these voters, and Biden's going to do what he does, which is not a lot of anything on the when it comes to media conversations.
Yeah, well, I guess they got to jump that first hurdle and beat Trump for the primary, which is in itself a tough task ahead. Steve Krakauer, thanks so much as always. Good to see you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.